I'm small. No, I'm not. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Shadow at Night. This is Tuesday, October the 14th, 2025. I hope you had a splendid Thanksgiving long weekend. I did. I spent it with my extended family, and we ate, and I was accused of being skinny, and I need to put on weight, even as I was having my second helping, and I am so thankful for those people. And for having such a fantastic gathering on such a special holiday. And like I said, I certainly hope that you guys managed to do the same thing. I hope you did. Because for me, I've spent many holidays like that by myself, by choice, I'll admit. And it's not quite the same. It's not quite the same as when there's 20 people milling around, all having different conversations, some half drunk, some way drunk, some not drunk at all, but everybody laughing and having a good time. There's some weirdness going on at Universal Ostrich Farm. We're going to dig into that in just a second. By the way, I saw the video of their Thanksgiving out there, and it looked like everybody was having a good time as well in their big mess tent, as they call it out there in the clearing. However, it appears that somebody is stealing ostriches. The numbers are way, way down. Originally started with about 400, then down to 330 after the sickness earlier this year, and then the loss of spirit the weekend before last at the hands of the CFIA, I would say. And now, if you look at long-range photos, and there is a very high-powered camera available out there right now, thanks to our friend Dave Freedom for providing that. This is probably the highest-powered camera on the face of the planet that we know of. They've been able to get some interesting long-range photos from the hills and mountains alongside the farm. Now, having been there, I can tell you what the landscape is like. It's flat in the farm area, and there are large hills and mountains along the sides, but they're not close. We know that the RCMP have spotters, let's call them, assigned to different places along the side of those mountains, but somehow retired CAF Sergeant Mike Rood and Chris Dacey from Dacey Media have been able to find their own spot to take some video and some photos. We're going to show you that in just a couple of minutes. As always, the Shadow at Night live stream is brought to you by Canada Nano Silver. This coming weekend, they'll be in Regina for the big Regina Health and Wellness Show. And for more information and for free tickets, email info at, the little A circle, info at CanadaNanoSilver.com.
Silver is amazing. It has several natural health benefits, and it's been used for hundreds of years for health and healing. That's the main reason they made silverware from silver. But seriously, this nano silver from Silverceuticals is the best and safest silver you can find. There are hundreds of studies and reports on it. I've read some of the studies myself, and it's mind-blowing. One of the things that sets Silverceuticals apart is that it washes out of your body in 24 hours. No silver buildup and no turning blue. And it won't even harm the good bacteria your body needs. It's so effective, they can use very small concentrations of silver, like 10 and 32 parts per million, and still outperform other silvers that have up to 3,000 parts per million. It's safer and more effective at the same time. It is an incredibly small particle that is small enough to work through your body, but big enough not to fall out of suspension. They infuse it into almost all of their products. It works in facial serums, toothpaste, gels, and even gummies that work to help your immune system.
Don't forget the big Regina Health and Wellness show coming up this weekend at the, it used to be called the Agrodome, the place by the football stadium. It's on Saturday and Sunday. And again, if you want free tickets for the event, email info@CanadaNanoSilver.com. All right. We're going to say some hellos real quick here. Who's watching? Edith, hello, watching on YouTube. Jay, sorry, that's Joy. Joy is watching on Facebook tonight. Barb is as well. She's in southern Manitoba. Hello, Patricia in Grimsby, Ontario. Marilyn, hello, in Enderby. Cheryl's watching on Facebook from Alberta. Yes, there is a lot going on. I'm going to try and cover, obviously, as much as I can during the show tonight. In Haddishville, howdy from Haddishville, Patty says. And Shelley is watching in the Okanagan. Hello, Shelley. Doug, a close-up shot of that garbage egg says it all. Yeah, we're going to get to that. It's not as close as we would like, but it's close enough to see there's certainly some ostriches that have gone missing. Hello, Carla in Calgary. Regina's watching in Surprise, Arizona. Vicky's watching in Nova Scotia. Wherever you're watching from tonight. Oh, Rumble. Who's watching on Rumble tonight? It's World Peace, Vilma, Andy Rock, Ruby, Begonia 13, Risnan 3PR, Notable, Goon is watching in North Van. And of course, hello to all of my All Access Nighthawks watching on the website, shadowdavis.com, or watching on the Shadow at Night community in our Telegram group. Don't forget to like and share. Get this out to as many people as you possibly can. People are asking, hey, how's your subscription drive going? Tomorrow is the deadline, tomorrow at 8 o'clock Central to get to 200, or this show is going to go off social media and exist only on the website for All Access members. So the push to 200, we're at 130 right now. And that means 70, according to my math. We need 70 new signups in order to make this show a sustainable project moving forward. Somebody was asking me this past weekend, why are you doing this? I said, all right, to be succinct, when you were working, because this person has been retired for 1 year now, congratulations on your 1 year anniversary of being retired. When you were working, did you work for free? Dude looked at me like, what, are you crazy? Of course not. Of course I didn't work for free. I said, I can't work for free anymore either. My savings are absolutely drained, depleted. And that's what I've been doing to supplement this show, to keep it on the air for the past 5 years now, has been going to my savings if I can't meet the monthly nut. And I just can't keep doing that anymore, guys. So if you want to see this show stay on social media, please go ahead and buy a subscription at shadowdavis.com. It's shadowdavis.com. It's not hard to find. It's spelled just like that down at the bottom of the screen. You see that? SHADOEDAVIS.com. And from there, it's easy. Just click. Sign up, and away we go. Okay, so I'm so happy, by the way, that Chris Dacey is at Universal Ostrich Farms right now. Dacey is a fantastic reporter. We're used to seeing him on the streets of Ottawa covering those Palestine protests and the House of Commons and politicians walking in and out of Parliament, all of that stuff. But he's at Universal Ostrich Farm and has been for the past few days. I'm not sure if you follow him. If you don't, he's on X at Dacey Media. He's also on Instagram. I think his Facebook page is still suspended for whatever reason. Anyway, he released this video yesterday from the hills or mountains on one side or the other of Universal Ostrich Farm. It's an undisclosed location.
A few developments this morning. Mike Rood has been gathering evidence for the last couple of days. Video and photographic evidence. There's been some concern raised by the family and supporters here that the number of birds on the farm appears to be drastically low. I mean, there should be about 330, 329, I think, after the loss of Spirit. The family seems to think there's possibly 100 missing. We've got some good video that was given to RCMP. So a development this morning, RCMP have opened an investigation. We're up here to try to get a more specific head count. So if there are a number of birds missing, that is very concerning. CFIA has been anything but transparent. The RCMP said that, if they saw something, they would say something, but I don't have a lot of faith in that, to be honest. So we're going to try to get a more solid head count, and we'll be putting out a bit of video to back up the kind of things that we're saying, to make sure we get approval from everyone. But we do have the receipts. Mike has been gathering quite a bit, so he does have the receipts to back up the claims that are being made here. So we're going to attempt to get a second head count today, and I will have more coming on that. This would be the overview. The supporter area is off to the far left here, beside that tall tree. Can zoom in a little bit here. Gilpen now has ladders all around it. Can get a bit of an idea of how many birds there are here, but it doesn't look like, oh, there's a bunch of CFIA guys in the field here. Certainly doesn't look like 300. That's the biggest group I've seen yet. Very few over here, sparse. And then more over here. So we also have the high quality video. We'll have lots more on this coming, but some major concerns here. An RCMP investigation is underway. We're going to get this stuff to the family. Lots more to come.
Okay, so directly after Dacey posted that video, the family and Sergeant Rood released their own video, their opinion of exactly what's going on. And a lot of this is based on opinion because we haven't got the facts. CFIA has not been fully transparent, and they're still erecting barriers so people can't see what's going on inside the ostrich pens, and they've got a no-fly zone. Remember that they went to Transport Canada and got a no-fly zone, a restricted flying area over top of Universal Ostrich Farm, so they can't even fly a drone in there. So here's what the family, Katie, Karen, and Sergeant Rood had to say.
We just found out from the police liaisons that the people that are in charge of giving the count of the animals for the investigation that we've all requested, it's the Canadian Food Inspection Agency. How do you allow the criminal to lead the investigation? The RCMP said they will not give us their own count. They're going to get a count from the Canadian Food Inspection Agency.
They won't allow us to go in and count. We've asked just to go in. All we want to do is count. We have given them 2 anonymous drone footages,
Mass
which clearly scoped out the entire farm, so we could break it down and do a very accurate count. Then we gave them video or pictures.
Yeah.
Mike gave them.
Credited by Mike, was signed with an affidavit, a sworn statement that that's where they came from this morning. And yet we're still at that. They're letting the criminal lead the investigation. The one, very one that we're all questioning. The numbers are not there. The animals are missing. Where are the animals? But wait, we're just going to wait for Canadian Food Inspection Agency to give us a number, and then we'll tackle that investigation. Yeah.
The biggest thing here too is the RCMP. This is a chance. This is an absolute chance for the Royal Mounted Canadian Police to stand up and do the right thing and uphold the law the proper way. Not for the criminal, but for the farmer, for the person. They're our animals. We are protecting our animals. We want accountability for how many animals have left this farm in whatever way they've left.
Yeah.
We want to know. We want to be able to inspect every single bin that leaves here now.
We would like to start to do our own wellness check, a wellness on our own animals of our own property. This is not, we have an interim stay order. We have not lost the right to those animals.
Oh, it makes your blood boil to think that these animals, the count is so far down. We hear supporters in the field at night. They hear 7, 8 pops. And they're like, is that a tranquilizer gun? Is that a silencer? What is going on? But the numbers are going down. We are on a stay order. A stay order means the Supreme Court of Canada has told us, you need to stop, halt, nothing happens. But instead of stopping and halting, now they get to still remain in control of the animals.
Take over and seize private property that has nothing to do with this, our aunt and uncle's my aunt and uncle's property. So it leads us to the very age-old question, why CFIA can we not do our own independent count? Why CFIA can the RCMP not use their drone footage that they got reprimanded for using to get their own count? Why can't we have our own count. What are you hiding, Canadian Food Inspection Agency, that you cut all our cameras? Why aren't you wearing body cams like the police? You have hundreds of lives in your hands. Why do you not have some sort of accountability tracer? Where is your accountability? It's because you operate with excessive freedom. No oversight. Nobody oversees your actions. You just make the law.
You make the rules as you go.
This is what changes.
And you play ballets.
And after 35 years, don't you think you know the animal count in your field?
Oh.
After 35 years, do you not think you know when you have a substantial number of animals missing?
All the evidence is in. It's in. The evidence is in, and we're way down on our count. Where are our birds? What are you doing with our birds?
What do you think, Mike?
Well, you know what? Like, say, going up like a week ago and taking pictures and doing a video and seeing the numbers of birds then, to then go up there yesterday and again today and to see the shocking number in difference, right? Like to say a third is gone, right? And it shows in the photos that you look at from last week and to the photos you see now.
The only problem is they're not supposed to have that evidence. Now, technically speak, because the CFIA, remember, they've imposed that no-fly zone. They're trying their best to keep any penetrating cameras out of the ostrich pens. However, we have had, like I said, a very, very high-powered camera sent out there by our friend Dave Freedom. So they're able to get these photos from a great distance. They're not the best photos. I think I've got one here. Again, this is just a still from some of the video that you just saw there. This is one of the big ostrich pens. And when I was there, you guys, I was all around these pens on four-wheelers, and they were packed, absolutely packed with ostriches. And now look, I mean, how many are there? It's difficult to say. Again, this is a high-powered camera, but it's a great distance away. And so you can count maybe if 50 in there. That's just guess, but where are the rest of them? Now, there are other pens. This isn't the only one. But man, that is way, way down. Could they use these in a case, a lawsuit against CFIA? I suppose that's a legal question. Also, if they are killing these ostriches in the dead of night, as Karen pointed out, some of the supporters around the farm are hearing loud pops in the middle of the night. What's that, gunshots? Tranquilizers? They're doing something. But this also means that CFIA agencies or whoever they've hired out have to transport these animals off site. Are they transporting them safely? After all, they're supposed to be biohazards. That's the whole purpose for this ridiculous cull in the first place. These ostriches are supposed to be infected with some new strain of H5N1. And so you see the marshmallow people, as Dacey calls them, walking around the ostrich pens. But we're going to play another video that he released this morning. Supposed to be about everybody's safety. It's not. It never is. It's about control. But the people who are transporting dead ostriches, let's just say that is a thing, dead ostriches from Universal Ostrich Farm, can face penalties under the Transportation of Dangerous Goods Act, including $50,000 fines for a first offense, up to $100,000 for subsequent offenses for each instance, and up to 2 years in jail or prison on a summary conviction. Now, good luck getting CFIA. It seems as though they're above the law, and no liberal minister wants to speak to them and tell them to stand down. They won't even listen to the Supreme Court, apparently. As Karen pointed out, the Supreme Court said, no, no, no. We've got a stay order in place. You are not supposed to be touching these ostriches in any harmful way until the Supreme Court says, yes, we'll hear the case, or no, we won't hear the case. So let me throw this up here. Supreme Court of Canada releases their decision schedule every week, and this came out last Friday. The judgments that were to be rendered on leave applications for this week include Bruce Walter Kirk versus Spartan Controls, Waterhen Lake First Nations versus the King. That just sounds so ridiculous to me. Courage Esfander Backhart versus the King, Ville de Quebec versus Jardine de Verone, Graham Edge versus Moose Jaw Downtown and Soccer Field House, Willie Jr. St. Jean versus the King, Kristen Ernest Hutton versus Rhea Savat. And those are the only, now they say this could change, but it's highly irregular that the Supreme Court of Canada changes their decision schedule. So it doesn't look like they're going to come to any decision on whether or not they're going to hear this case this week at the very least. All right, Dacey released this video just a couple of hours ago.
Hey, Dacey here. On public property near Universal Ostrich Farms in Edgewood. That's for the RCMP, just in case you're wondering. I'm on public property. Man, a lot going on here. Let's take a look. The marshmallows are feeding the birds right now. So they are being fed. I'm not sure what they're being fed. There's a whole bunch of RCMP vehicles behind me, and they weren't real happy with me taking pictures of them. But let's check it out. If we look right here. I was just taking some really high quality video with the wonderful camera provided by Dave Freedom, but here you can see, oh, there goes a hay bale. Just toss it out. Let's see. At least they split it. Hopefully they pick up the twine. We've seen numerous birds get caught up in twine. So this truck, these guys are in hazmat suits, maybe. They're basically white paper suits. They have on masks. They wear just normal sunglasses. And when they're done in these trucks, this truck will likely just drive out of the hot zone or the quarantine zone. These people generally interact. Oh, look at those rims. $80,000 worth of truck and whatever these two marshmallows cost. So like I said, generally when these trucks are done, they just drive out of the hot zone. I'm losing him for a second. We'll get better imaging of that. But basically when these pickups drive out of here, they just drive straight out of the hot zone. I've seen them come out and shake hands with RCMP. I've seen CFIA get in the front of RCMP vehicles and drive away. I saw a guy undressed out of a hazmat suit with a hazmated guy, but when he's out of his suit, they're like holding on to each other and touching. I mean, I'm not an expert in quarantine procedures, but none of this looks like very well quarantined. And if there was a serious danger or threat here, at least personally, that's not how I would handle it, honestly.
If there was a serious threat, there would be serious equipment. If there was a serious threat, you wouldn't be going out in a paper suit. It would be full on hazmat. So what is this paper suit? Just for show? Like they should have air tanks on their back. They should be in full gear, sealed from head to toe with space hats on. Not regular sunglasses and surgical masks. That's absolutely ridiculous. It's a show. They're putting on a show, clearly. And as Dacey reports there, he's seen full-on decked out CFIA agents getting into RCMP vehicles, interacting with unprotected RCMP officers. This is such a scam. We are calling it out here on social media, and I implore you to share this out so everybody can see. So everybody can see. And then, if you're not convinced, look up what any virology lab that deals in dangerous viruses would wear. Any personnel at a virology lab that deals in dangerous viruses, look for what they would wear. That's what these people should be wearing. They're not. That in and of itself should tell you everything you need to know. I saw Raelyn Fox in the comment section earlier. Hello, Raelyn. How are you doing? CBC has done a story on you, but I'm sure you know that. I've received several texts about it, and I thought it was pretty important we put this up because you know that the left-wing corporate media is extremely biased. And it seems they want those pornographic books in schools. And I know you've got part 12 of those books aren't in my kid's school out on your social media right now. Please go, guys, and have a look at it when you have an opportunity. Activists' claims principal promoted child pornography are defamatory. According to this lawsuit, Carmen Collegiate principal says social media posts could put staff in danger. So, of course, they're playing the old, oh, I'm in danger card. They're getting death threats, they say. Well, maybe not that, but people are getting upset and they're making phone calls. And, of course, these snowflakes can't handle a little bit of criticism. We're in danger. You know, our side doesn't do that. And we've demonstrated that over and over and over again with every single indignity we've been dealt in the past 5 years. We don't do that. Look at Universal Ostrich Farms, those people, their land is being taken over by the government. If anything, if any reason, that would be a reason to stand up and say, nope, we're not doing this anymore. But they're allowing it. They're trying, and it's not because they don't feel like they can. It's because they're taking deep breaths, keeping their cool. That's what this boils down to, ultimately. We could, but we choose not to. Jesus Christ said, turn the other cheek. We don't make death threats. Nobody I know, anyway. Southern Manitoba principal is suing a parent who sought to have books removed from school libraries, saying the woman wrote defamatory social media posts insinuating the principal promoted the dissemination of child pornography. Well, the buck stops with you, principal. If there is child porn in your school, you're ultimately responsible. Carmen Collegiate Principal Mary Reimer says Raelyn Fox has continued to target the Prairie Rose School Division and her high school years after the woman who had a child enrolled at school there in 2023 first brought up allegations its library made sexually explicit materials available for children, according to an affidavit filed at Court of King's Bench. Now, CBC doesn't do any investigation as to the fact that there are pornographic books in the school. They just say it's an allegation. Reimer is seeking damages. Now, I'm sorry, Principal Reimer, but your story here, your lawsuit, is based on a lie. If your school did, in fact, have these books in its library accessible to young kids, and you know you did. And since all this has happened, I'm certain that you've instructed your librarians and teachers to remove them from little kids and lower shelves. But you know you did. Reimer is seeking damages as well as an injunction barring Fox from publishing statements implying she encouraged for pornographic materials to be made available to students, or that she groomed children and promoted sexual exploitation or child pornography. I don't believe that Raelyn ever said those words directed at one person. The implications of comments made by Ms. Fox and by other users on her Facebook page that I've been encouraging, tolerating, or otherwise taking part in the sexual abuse of children are irreparably harmful. If you had these books accessible to young kids in your school, well, I'm sorry, but the allegations are true. Your lies will not change that. Raelyn was behind a 2023 petition calling on Prairie Rose School Division to block books she said were sexually explicit from being made available to minors in school libraries, according to an affidavit the parent filed in late July. You know, Alberta has done this. They have exposed on left-wing corporate media these awful, disgusting, sexually oriented books. We know they're there, or were there in Alberta. Still are in probably every other province. Do you think that we don't get news from other provinces? Are you stupid? The woman said that in a series of presentations to the division's board of trustees, she raised concerns about books like Margaret Atwood's Oryx and Crake and The Handmaid's Tale and Kurt Vonnegut's Slaughterhouse-Five. Those were not the books she was talking about. Reimer alleges some of the books Fox presented as being freely available to students at the Carmel Collegiate Library, including Rupi Kaur's Milk and Honey, Alice Sebold's Lucky and Juno Dawson's This Book is Gay, were either not in circulation or in a section restricted to mature students, and that Fox had been told this was the case. Now, this is where the violence comes in, right? Oh, I'm scared. She said Fox continues to imply in her social media pages those books are widely available at the library. I believe that Ms. Fox's social media posts are causing other Facebook users to escalate in their posts and or increase the potential for violence, Reimer said in an August filing. That's absurd. Show us the proof that you've had threats of violence. Show us. Or I'm just fearful that it could happen. Is that what you're saying? So you're 10 steps ahead, are you? Thought crimes. I'm fearful that Ms. Fox has inflamed such hostility among members of the community that myself or other Prairie Rouge School Division staff could be in danger. What about having a conversation? You don't seem to be willing to do that. Be honest. That's all we're asking for. Honesty, transparency, it's the best way to gain people's trust. Reimer's also seeking an order to get Fox to delete social media statements she said are defamatory, including a post saying the principal believed porn should be available to your child whether you find it offensive or not. Fox denied in her affidavit her posts were defamatory. She said that while some of the books were not shelved, they still showed up in catalog records, and that she saw similar content during a visit to the collegiate's library. Fox also denied she referred to LGBTQ themes when she brought up her concerns to the division's trustees, even if another delegation did bring that issue up. The Canadian Library Challenges Database, an initiative by Toronto Metropolitan University Centre for Free Expression and the Canadian Federation of Library Association, says calls to remove books at Prairie Rose at the time revolved around 20 titles, including sex ed. That's what these are? We've seen photos. Not photos. Well, yeah, photos of some of the illustrations in these books. They're not educational. You would see that in Penthouse magazine. No, you wouldn't even see that in Penthouse magazine. You'd have to go a step lower than Penthouse. Hustler, maybe. Sex ed. Sex ed books and materials with 2 SLGBTQ plus. Plus. What does the plus mean? Plus. Anybody know? Oh, is that MAPS these days? You know, pedos? Is that what the plus stands for? Activists increasingly targeting schools. You know, it's funny. Anytime a delegation of concerned parents and grandparents tries to go to one of these school division meetings and express their concerns about all of this stuff, these trustees call the cops. And we're talking about, I don't know, maybe 50 people who are probably all 40 plus and in no way violent whatsoever. But these people are terrified of having a conversation, and they're the ones who point fingers and start bringing up allegations. Like, you're dangerous. Well, I'm trying to talk to you. You won't listen. So in your own way, you are instigating this problem, if there is a problem at all. People getting irate and upset. You worry about your safety. Give us a break. The center's director, James Turk, said Canadian libraries have been dealing with a rise in requests to remove books or cancel programs with groups that describe themselves as being for parents' rights, increasingly targeting schools. Well, I wonder why. This includes Manitoba's Concerned Citizens Canada, which the center says also pushed for books at Prairie Rose to be removed, and Action for Canada, which was behind several recent challenges at Pembina Trail School Division. Turk says the groups will often argue schools are violating child porn laws by making the books available, even though there are legal protections for material serving educational or artistic purposes. What about child porn? What about that? If you believe that these books belong in public schools for little kids, then you, my friend, are sick and or a groomer. That's all there is to it. We've seen the material in these books. Some of you guys actually have to turn the show off while I'm showing one of Raelyn's videos sometimes because you can't take it. And I don't blame you. And if you can't take it, why should a 6-year-old have to? They have every right to express that concern, and the public library or the school board has an obligation to take that concern seriously. But no, instead, they start throwing lawsuits around. I think the overwhelming majority of the time, because they're careful about what gets in their collection, the answer is we're keeping it. How careful are they? Fox is targeted. Now, it's making her sound like she's violent and targeting people. You see how the writing is disturbing here? Targeting. Other Manitoba school divisions in a series of social media videos. She's declined comment on the lawsuit. In a recent video, she thanked people making donations to cover legal costs, and that's all they're trying to do. We know what they're trying to do. They're trying to get her to shut up through lawfare. That's all this is. It has no basis in reality whatsoever, and they know it. Turk-Kennedy fears lack of oversight because of cutbacks. Oh, so it's cutbacks. May lead to some schools taking the quick solution, and they might just make the book disappear. Well, that would be good. Blaming cutbacks. The parent goes away happy. There's no bad news about it. It never comes to public attention, and that is a terrible way to handle the situation. No, it's not. Not when you see the book and the illustrations. That is an absolutely bogus article written by the CBC, using targeted language against a young mother who was very concerned that our public schools are being turned into brothels, grooming factories. And she's got a very, very, very good point. David Eby whining again in BC. Expanded U.S. tariffs on an existential threat. Aren't you getting tired of hearing that expression? Existential threat. Donald Trump is an existential threat. David Eby. We illustrated last week what a clown he is. I can't believe the people of British Columbia elected this party, this guy. It's embarrassing. David Eby calling on the federal government to support workers whose jobs are put at risk by the unfair and unjustified, it's not fair, and unjustified attack on the Canadian forestry industry by Donald Trump. Hey, look, you want to know what? These tariffs apply to everybody, not just Canada. You know, you've been talking about expanding markets, and yet now it's an existential threat. Go find some new markets to sell to. What about that? Or maybe, and this is just a thought, let Alberta build a pipeline through your province so that we can make some money, so that our country can be one of the richest in the world, like Mark Carney says we're going to be. This is James Moore. He's a former cabinet minister in the Harper government, talking about this disagreement between British Columbia and Alberta, and Mark Carney just kind of waffling around and not getting behind the pipeline project that Danielle Smith wants to build through BC. Watch.
Canadian products to global markets in a more diversified way away from the United States is in Canada's best interest. And we believe in that when it comes to autos. We seem to believe in that when it comes to steel and aluminum. We seem to believe in that when it comes to agricultural products across the board. But when it comes to energy, the federal government seems to say now under Prime Minister Carney that a pipeline would be nice, but we need British Columbia and Alberta to completely reconcile on this issue. Well, they're not going to, for political reasons in both of those provinces. That's a near impossibility. And we have to have Indigenous full buy-in. Well, that's a complicated thing. And if the federal government is going to sort of punt leadership on this to other relationships to sort of reconcile themselves ahead of them taking leadership on this, a pipeline to the west coast of British Columbia is never going to happen, particularly the northwest coast of British Columbia. Prime Minister Carney is to be credited for saying that he wants to have large nation-building projects. He announced his first 5, and he took ownership of those 5 projects. He said, these are the 5 that I want, and here's why I want them. These are the jobs that they will return. This is the economic benefit they will return. But when it comes to pipelines, he takes a back seat and says, we need the provinces to get along. We need for this to be aligned with our holdover environmental policies left over from the Trudeau government. He seems to want to move mountains in order to get other projects done in other areas of the Canadian economy. But when it comes to energy, he seems to not want to take a leadership role. And I think that's become really quite clear now. We have enough time of him as Prime Minister in office to know that he wants to be seen to be in favor of a pipeline, but he doesn't actually want to drive the ship in terms of getting us towards pipeline reconciliation in this country and actually getting those energy products to global markets. And I hope he proves me wrong, but I think the evidence is clear that this government is not interested in a pipeline to the West Coast.
Yeah, right. You're absolutely right. Did you read his book, Values? He is a net zero zealot. He's out of control, this guy. Here's Jordan Peterson talking about him.
Wretched, but still dangerously powerful liberals. One Mark Carney is one of the world's prime advocates of the insane inanities of net zero. He is a man who has planned in writing, not least in his best-selling book, Values, the complete destruction of the fossil fuel industry. Bye-bye, Alberta, if that's not bad enough. And it is. He's also simultaneously an advocate of the same post-national view of Canada defined by Trudeau Jr. and his moralistic minions. What are we, according to such good thinkers? Nothing. But if anything, the oppressive, patriarchal, white, supremacist, identityless, colonial settler state defined by the progressive ideologues in the think tanks and elite dining rooms in Eastern Canada and the protest encampments on the campuses of Canadian universities. None of this fills the MAGA crowd with admiration, in case it needs to be said. None of it bodes well either for the economy of Canada, doomed to replacement, according to Carney, by the hydrogen, solar, and wind power that either does not exist, that would be hydrogen, or that would doom Canadians to starve and freeze in the dark if it ever came to replace the reliable grid and transportation we all so desperately depend on when it's 40 bloody below. We may, when arguing so expensively and incompetently with the Americans, continue to congratulate ourselves on our comparative righteousness. That diet will become even thinner gruel, however, in a future characterized by their explosive economic growth and our rapid descent toward comparative poverty and irrelevance, green though that pathway may be argued, however falsely to be. Carney, to put it bluntly, is not a man like Justin Trudeau, a second-rater, under the mere influence of the World Economic Forum, that Malthusian fear-mongering cabal of authoritarian elitists, drunk on the fumes of their own self-righteous delusions. He is, by contrast, a veritable leader of that movement.
That's Jordan Peterson doing comedy, by the way. That's his idea. That's his idea of a stand-up shtick. It's not bad, actually. And he's absolutely correct about Mark Carney. There is no way that Mark Carney is going to get behind any kind of oil and gas pipeline in Canada. It's just not going to happen. Brookfield is invested, his old company, right? They're invested in pipelines all around the world, but not in Canada. Oh, no. Canada's special. We've got all this oil and gas, but it's going to stay in the ground. He states that in his book, by the way. 90% of the oil and gas needs to stay in the ground. He said Justin Trudeau there, so I want to briefly bring this to your attention. I'm not sure if you heard this over Thanksgiving. Trudeau facing trolling after kiss with Katy Perry goes viral. There it is. There they are. They're necking on about Katy Perry seen wearing a black swimsuit, sharing a kiss with a shirtless Justin Trudeau. Dahlia Kurtz, I used to work with her on the radio here in Winnipeg years ago. She says Justin Trudeau and Katy Perry, one pretended to be an astronaut, one pretended to be a prime minister. Very, very good, Deli. I like that. This conceivably means we're heading toward a future where Katy Perry writes songs about Justin Trudeau. What is life? LOL. What kind of guy is Justin Trudeau? Not sincere to his wife and kids, even leave the country which he left in tatters, shameless. I'm not sure if Sandip Markets knows that Trudeau and his wife have separated. Gator Gum says, so this picture of Katy Perry and Justin Trudeau is floating around social media and causing quite a stir. You know what to do, folks. RT and spread this shit everywhere. They can't stand to see him happy and having fun. Oh, so that must be a supporter. I couldn't care less who Trudeau is dating, Ryan Garrettson says. What bothers me is this guy ruined the lives of millions, pushed hatred towards a group of Canadians. Well, he pushed hatred towards pretty much everybody. That was his job, divide, divide, divide. Found guilty of violating the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, and he's out there living his best life like none of it matters. Oh, that's a very, very good point. All right, back to the news of the day. From Juneau, Ottawa Elementary Teachers Union restricts workshop to racialized members. Yeah. A teachers union leadership conference is offering workshops on how art can be used as a tool of resistance, identity, and joy, and only racialized members of the union are allowed to partake, okay? So that's one thing. This one here from City News, everywhere. Cambridge councillor could face punishment, suspension of pay over a Facebook post. Trying to tell me that these schools, no matter where they are not protecting this foul ideology? Transing Canada? Of course they are. Let me make this bigger so we can all see here. I thought I had this blown up already. Here we go. Well, now I have to scroll down. All right. Cambridge Ward 6 councillor Adam Cooper could be reprimanded and handed a 10-day suspension of pay for posting a meme to his Facebook profile that some labeled as transphobic. Transphobic. That means we're scared of trans. We're not scared of you. We're concerned that you are grooming children. But we're not scared of trans people. We don't believe trans people exist. We think mental illness does. But nobody is scared here. Cambridge Council will consider accepting the recommendations made by the city's, these integrity commissioners. Let's ask Lisa about that. Lisa Robinson down there in Pickering. At a council meeting on Tuesday, the post was made to Cooper's personal Facebook profile back in January, depicting a person with colored hair and the caption, "He took my pronouns. I have to live in reality now." Before the post was deleted the following day, Cooper had an exchange with Eric Bolton, founder of Grand River Pride, in the comment section, in which Bolton criticized Cooper for publicly bullying a minority, while Cooper said, "I'll proudly represent reality and those that support it." Attaboy! The last thing that you should do, Mr. Cooper, is apologize. Never back down to these people. If they suspend you, they suspend you, but do not back down to them. Ever. Pierre Poilievre has said, end DEI, restore the merit principle. Vincent Neil Ho is a conservative MP, and he put up this petition on the conservative.ca website. DEI spending and government waste needs to die. Whereas the Liberals are wasting millions of taxpayer dollars on bloated diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, whereas the Liberal government had wasted $1.049 billion on DEI bureaucracy, will Canadians struggle to make ends meet. Whereas research funding must reward the best ideas, not identity checkboxes, whereas by tying research funding to identity politics, the Liberals are undermining academic freedom, silencing dissenting voices, and eroding trust in Canadian institutions. I'm going to copy and paste this into the comments, you guys, and all the platforms tonight so that you can sign this petition, and hopefully we can get rid of DEI. And while I'm doing that, here is Pierre Poilievre talking about the death of Charlie Kirk and about the left being slightly cuckoo.
My thoughts are with the incredible family of Charlie Kirk, and our condolences to them. He was winning a lot of debates, and I think the authoritarian left was frustrated that they couldn't win the argument, and then ultimately they ended the argument. And that's often what they do. There's a censorship ideology on today's left. The left has become very authoritarian, and they can't tolerate any kind of disagreement, especially when they're losing the debate. And they started with cancel culture, but then there's certain people who just refuse to be canceled. So that's when the other side gets violent. What's been so inspiring is to see that none of Mr. Kirk's supporters have responded with violence of their own. You know, they've been very peaceful. There's been no windows broken, no riots.
We don't do that stuff.
No counter assassinations, nothing. Very inspiring to see the peaceful response by his supporters. To see his wife forgive the shooter, unbelievable. I don't think I could have done that.
Looks like we've got a ceasefire. There is a ceasefire in Gaza between Palestine, Hamas, and Israel. Now, as you know, I haven't talked about this quite so much because I find the whole thing ridiculous. Not the people being killed, but the fact that this is happening at all, and that somehow our politicians feel the need to speak out on this. It's a foreign war. It has nothing to do with us. Period. Bottom line. If protesters are becoming unruly and starting to damage private property or public property for that matter, they should be arrested. They're not. That's my problem. If people are being intimidated, then the intimidators should be arrested. They absolutely should be. I'm not talking about the governments or the terror groups that are sponsoring these wars. I'm talking about the human issue behind all of this. Now, because of this ceasefire being signed, and Donald Trump was the mastermind behind this, he did have help, but he was the guy. Even as Mark Carney and other countries in Europe recognize a Palestinian state, whatever that means. Hamas is in charge, by the way, over there. So you're recognizing Hamas, a terror organization, as an official state. That's what you're doing. Not sure if you're aware of that, Mr. Carney, but that is, in fact, what you're doing. Even though you've said, well, Hamas can't be in charge. Well, they are. What are you going to do? Are you going to send Canadian forces over there to make sure that they're not? I doubt it. Mr. Carney needs to understand his place very, very soon. And so do all these other so-called world leaders, Keir Starmer, dude in France, Macron, whose wife apparently needs to prove that she's not a man. Oh, and what about those poor protesters who now have nothing to protest that there's a ceasefire?
Opinion on the ceasefire?
Well, I'm just sad that it's over. I just don't know how I'll pay rent without my protesting money. Like, do I need to find a job?
Yes. Megyn Kelly played some video of hostages being returned to their families. This is 2 years later. Over 2 years. She was very emotional about it. As a matter of fact, this video, for some reason, had been blocked out by Instagram, saying there was sensitive content. There's no sensitive content in this. To me, sensitive content means sexually explicit or violence. This is just heartwarming stuff. So why would Meta say that there is explicit content or sensitive content in this? Like, the over-policing of feelings needs to stop by governments and by corporations. Just stop. We're grown-ups and we can deal. So let's watch this here.
One of the most consequential moments in history unfolding this morning in the Middle East. The long nightmare for the families of the Israeli hostages is over. All 20 of the survivors released hours ago into the arms of their loved ones, and I cannot get enough of the videos. They're incredible. All right, we're going to go through a few of them. Among those released, 25-year-old Matan Zengauker. He was kidnapped from his home on October 7th. His final text to his mother that day was, "Mom, I love you. Someone is here." Last week when his mother...
Okay, one second. I'm seeing a comment here from Jackie. Protesting money, my protesting money from who? Okay, Jackie, if you don't know about that, I suggest you look up Glenn Beck on social media from The Blaze. Okay, these people are funded. These protesters are funded. Antifa is funded. And Glenn Beck goes through who is funding them and how the money gets to them. So go find him on whatever social media platform, okay? And anybody who doesn't know, it's okay if you don't. Don't feel bad or dumb, because you're not. You just didn't know. So go look up Glenn Beck. He does a great explanation of it.
Mother found out he would be released. She said the moment she was looking forward to the most was when her son's eyes could sink into her own. Today she got that moment. Watch.
כפרה לך אני, כפרה לך אני, כפרה לך אני, כמה החיות שלך מחכות לראות אותך ואילנה.
It's amazing. In each one of these, they're holding on to them like they might never see them again. I mean, they're holding on to their sons exactly the way that you would hold on to your son. I mean, exactly the way you would hold on to your son if you hadn't seen him in 2 years and he were in the hands of a terrorist group in some cave. You can feel the relief and the joy and the gratitude. The gratitude, it's like oozing out of the screen. And it's just one of the reasons why it's so emotional to watch these. Also among the released, 24-year-old Eviatar, I'm sorry, they're tough names, but I'm trying. Eviatar David. Eviatar was kidnapped from the Nova Festival in southern Israel. This is a photo of him before he was taken hostage. In August, Hamas released video of him showing him looking emaciated. This is him. This is Eviatar right here. Look, it's terrible. For the listening audience, he looks like a Holocaust victim. So skinny, skin and bones, in an underground tunnel, showing him just looking awful, and his face looks forlorn, and digging in a cramped underground tunnel. When his family was shown the video, his father said he did not even recognize that this was his son. And this was Eviatar today. He blew kisses to the crowd of onlookers as he arrived to a hospital in Israel. He still looks thin, but he was smiling and he was waving, and his life has been saved. Wow. Another hostage released.
Okay, we're not going to watch the entire thing there. If you want to find that, just go look for Megyn Kelly on any social media. The entire video is there. One thing that she mentions at the end of that particular video is there's still some things to be worked out, and there's still some difficulties going on right now with implementing this ceasefire. But they're negotiating on the bodies because there's over 20 dead Israelis who need to be transported back, and Hamas for some reason isn't doing that, and I would imagine because these bodies may have been desecrated. So I'm just going to leave it at that for now, and we'll find out more as the days go on or the hours go on. You know, there's a lot happening, guys, and it's moving very quickly. I try to keep you up to date as well as I can every night at 8 o'clock. We are 80 subscribers away from hitting 200. The deadline is 8 o'clock Central tomorrow night. So if you're not subscribed to the show, go ahead and do it now. shadowdavis.com. Just like it's spelled right at the bottom of the screen. shadowdavis.com. Go become an all-access member and get extra content every single night. On the extension tonight, what's life going to be like under the Chinese social credit system, under digital ID and digital programmable currency? That's what we're exploring on the extension tonight. And when you become a subscriber, don't forget to go to Telegram and become a part of the Shadow at Night community. Shadow, like it's spelled down at the bottom of the screen, at night, N-I-T-E, community. Shadow at Night community. We're almost at 700 members over there right now. And everybody over there, you all access Nighthawks, they are absolutely welcoming and lovely people, and they're always into adding new members to the group. So When you become a subscriber, make sure you go and sign. And that's where we do all of our conversation during the extension as well. And if you don't watch the extension live, that's okay. You can watch it tomorrow or next week or whenever you want to. You don't have to watch it live. You can watch it 2 weeks from now if you want to on the website, but only for all access subscribers at shadowdavis.com. That is it for the show tonight, you guys. I'll see you in the extension in 2 minutes. For the rest of you, I love you all. I appreciate you all. Catch you tomorrow night at 8 o'clock Central. Bye for now.